Good day. Welcome to the second week of Nursing Leadership. Today we're going to be discussing work-life balance and effective leadership strategies for continuing success. The objectives for this lecture are to explore best practices in managing energy and change, examining the role of energy oscillation, identify new ways to improve personal energy management, and institute a personal plan to manage energy and resilience. The first half of this lecture is based on a workshop I attended when I was a CNS at Palliative Care at Lakeland Regional Medical Center, and it was with their Leadership Institute. It was a workshop on energy management for managers and clinical nurse specialists. So why indeed do we need to even look at this? Well, we all know in healthcare, continuous change will always be with us. We will always be overloaded and overworked, more patients than really we can think about caring for. Acuity levels are up. When I first started nursing 30 plus years ago, there was a range of acuities. You had some people who would now be in home health and home that were still in the hospital. So you didn't have 6 or 7 patients that were all very, very ill. We have multiple corporate priorities. Maybe we're on a committee at work in addition to our patients, and we have multiple personal priorities. Many of us have homes, children, we're going to school, and myself included as I start my doctoral work this fall of 2012. So I'm right there with you with juggling lots of plates on a daily basis. The old school of work-life balance simply looked at time management. How can we essentially work smarter and not harder and manage our time in a more effective and efficient manner? But current work-life balance philosophy incorporates this whole idea of energy management as well, and we will discuss that more in depth as we move along. Time management asks the following questions. Is this the right thing to do? Or another way of saying that, is this the right thing to do at this particular time? Can I really afford to sit down and watch an hour of television, or do I really need to be doing my discussion board posts? Is this a fulfilling thing to do? Is it worth the investment of time and effort? And you, as well as the students in the class that I'm taking, obviously answered the question, yes, it is worth the investment of time and effort. But some things, if we ask that question, we'll say, no, this really isn't worth the investment of time and effort. And then we really need to rethink how we allocate our very precious resource of time. And is this a necessary thing to do? The whole concept of energy management is really more about engagement, alignment, and focus. And it's very holistic in nature, as you can see. It addresses physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual domains. This is a very interesting chart that I was exposed to in this leadership training class at Lakeland Regional. A copy of this exact chart is on your PAL, and you can copy it and adapt it to suit your needs. We'll just basically run through it. This first column here is the particular activity. I've just named it 1, 2, and 3, but you can put in particular activities that you're involved in. This is the amount of hours per day that you spend in that particular activity. These two columns are very interesting. They have to do with effort and fulfillment. This column addresses how much effort a particular activity takes. You can see that this particular activity is rated a 3. So right here, so 1 being the most and 5 being the least. This is a moderately effort-filled activity. This next column is about fulfillment, and you can see here that rated a 4, this particular activity is fairly fulfilling, since 5 is the most fulfilling. This next column is a product of effort and fulfillment. You come up with a number. Then the next column has to do with the necessary factor. Is this really the right thing to do? And 1 is yes, is the least necessary, and 5 being the most necessary. So you can see that this particular activity, being a 4, is probably a pretty necessary thing to do. So we've come up with an activity that is not so taxing in terms of effort, but is very fulfilling and very necessary. And the last column is the worth it factor, and this is a product of the last 2 columns. Now you can see from activity number 2 that this really was not a very fulfilling or very necessary activity. So we might say, gee, if resources are limited, and I consider time a resource, so if our time is limited, why would we spend it doing an activity that really isn't necessary and really isn't fulfilling? So this is just a quick little tool to kind of put some focus, if you will, on some key components of time management. Allocating time to do fulfilling activities can be a challenge if those our time is limited. So this is where the whole idea of working smarter and not harder comes into play. Delegation is a very appropriate way to kind of free up some time, if you will, and the whole idea of delegating readily and appropriately is the key. Spring term 2012, when I was preparing this particular lecture, it was late at night. I was working. I had a bunch of resources on the kitchen table, and dinner hadn't been cooked yet. So I had to make the choice of either stopping and diverting that time from something that really no one else could do for me, or delegating appropriately. My 18-year-old son was just kind of lounging around after sports practice, and so I got him to chop onions and fry up sausage, and delegated that activity of preparing dinner for him, and I continued to work on the lecture. So that's just one quick example of delegation that sometimes we can do both in our personal and professional lives. Utilizing all our productivity tools with software packages such as Microsoft Office or Outlook or any of those kind of programs, learning how to use those quickly and efficiently can be a real time saver. If we can learn to really manage our time well during the business day and avoid taking work home, then we have time for those renewal activities that help us stay refreshed and engaged, and that gets at some of that energy management we'll talk about in a minute. In terms of effective meeting techniques, I have the absolute privilege and joy of serving on my church council with a vice president of publics who chairs the church council and runs that meeting in the most effective manner I have ever seen in my life. And that is one thing about aligning yourself with opportunities for leadership, is that you can learn, sit back and watch and learn from people who are much more skilled than you are, and decide, gee, what do I want to adopt and what do I want to never do? This gentleman is very prompt about starting meetings right on time so that you learn that if you're late, the meeting's already started and you are a day late and $1 short. He has a nice technique of about 5 to 10 minutes before the meeting is supposed to end, and he always ends on time, to start wrapping conversations up, cueing people that it's about ready to adjourn. It is in many leadership books to plan, even though emergencies always occur, but plan on a set time to leave work every day. And again, this helps get into a regular rhythm and preserves that opportunity for energy renewal. Some topics to kind of ask yourself before you delegate: is this person the right person to take action? I obviously wouldn't have asked a 6-year-old child to chop onions and fry up sausage, but certainly an 18-year-old was certainly worthy of delegation for that type of activity. But again, the whole idea of delegating appropriately is the key. You've got to choose people to do tasks for you if you are going to delegate that are capable of that task. Often staff want more involvement or want a change of pace, so sometimes delegation occurs to keep staff engaged. The benefits of delegation is one of them is an obvious succession planning. All of us plan on retiring someday, and we certainly hope that capable nurses are right behind us to step up to the plate. And unless we plan for that, it won't happen. Again, freeing our energy and time to be involved in more fulfilling activities or activities that no one else can do for us is certainly a benefit of delegation. And going home on time is certainly an additional benefit as well. Many of you are familiar with effective use of email, but here are just some quick tips about emails. Again, a lot of leadership texts suggest really managing the email, not feeling the need to check it every hour, but set an allotted time that you catch up on your emails twice daily. Sorting things into folders just like you would do paper, using subject headlines and red flags to tag high priority items, and only handle things once. Read it and do something with it, store it, or trash it. We all have been recipients of the reply to all emails, so use those judiciously. And certainly disciplining yourself to in a timely manner respond to emails is an appropriate thing to do. When we do respond, it's certainly acceptable to use bullets and not worry about typing out complete sentences. There is some key components to think about running an effective meeting. Do we really need to get together, or can things be handled with a couple of emails? How can we use the time most appropriately? If morning meetings aren't working, do we need to change the pattern and meet in the afternoon, or meet less frequently or more frequently? There's nothing worse than planning a project and realizing that you don't have the right people at the table. So at the front end, decide who should attend those meetings. And again, can the meeting be delegated to run, or do you really need to supervise and run that meeting? There are definitely some effective meeting strategies before, during, and after. Definitely before the meeting, send appointments, provide prep items so everybody's on the same page and you don't waste time at the meeting catching people up or getting people up to speed. Expect them to come prepared to generate ideas and have a meaningful exchange. During the meeting, don't repeat the same thought, and review conclusions. And afterwards, definitely hold people accountable, keep a log of who agrees to what, and hold people's feet to the fire and keep things moving forward. Think twice about lunch meetings, whether they're really necessary or nice. Many people prefer to use their lunch break as a renewal time, either to sit quietly and read a book that has nothing to do with work, or to get together with friends. So think twice about lunch meetings. Again, leaving at a set time helps manage that energy renewal. And if you obtain buy-in from your staff, I am leaving at a certain time, but before then I'm available for questions or concerns, can help you stick to that set time of departure. By setting that expectation that you are leaving on time, your staff gets used to that, and they know that you won't be hanging around past the time that you say you're going to leave. Using alerts and adjusting your schedule are just a few other cues that can be effective. This is a phenomenal book. It really changed my whole way of thinking. If you have time to read this, Power of Full Engagement, it really gets at the whole idea of energy renewal and being fully on 100% every day, and not kind of there in body but not in spirit kind of thing that happens so often in the workplace. This book talks a lot about resilience and the ability to rapidly recover. They define resilience as retaining shape or position after being bent, stretched, or compressed. And many of us in our work environments certainly feel bent, stretched, and compressed, and learning to be resilient can be a way to compensate for that. The state of the leader has everything to do with the state of the followers. And so certainly the leader, in whatever role the leader is in, needs to model and be fully present to set a tone or a culture, if you will, of this is the expectation on this particular unit or department. So if we're talking about resilience, you might ask yourself the following questions. How does one maintain the ability to lead people through constant change, which can be very wearing, very anxiety producing, and very exhausting? How does one maintain their own health, emotions, and stamina? And how does one maintain confidence, commitment, and creativity in the face of constant change? This particular book, The Power of Full Engagement, talked about the whole dichotomy of time and energy as a fluid motion. Managing your time concurrently with managing your energy really fosters this whole full engagement concept. Energy is the capacity to do work. It's the fundamental currency of high performance. It's not time, it's energy. And so it is really the currency of a fulfilled life, a full and rich life, and not just a moving through the motions life. This particular book talks about, again, a very holistic approach to engagement, spiritual alignment, emotional, mental focus, and physical presence being the components of engagement. Full energy engagement draws on all these areas. So if any area is out of whack or out of line, that affects the body's ability to produce energy on a consistent and sustained manner. No one wants a leader who's on one day and off the other. We look to our leaders, whoever they may be, to be consistent and predictable and have a sustained energy. We don't want a leader that fizzles out. That's not a very effective leader. So energy capacity really oscillates. There are moments in our lives when we expend more energy than we have, and then we need to pause and have intermittent renewal to essentially fill our cup so that we have energy to spend on making a difference in healthcare. Building capacity is always an issue. Sometimes we endure short-term discomfort in the service of long-term rewards. Both of us are in school. We are enduring short-term discomfort for the long-term reward of having a higher degree. Building capacity also has highly specific routines for maintaining energy, and this book stressed this over and over again, of this whole concept of not essentially burning out, but maintaining and sustaining energy, and these are the key to full engagement and sustained high performance. So what's involved with physical renewal? It's the basics: exercise, consistent sleep, a good diet, one that's not made of chips and Coke, but a balanced diet, and breaks every 90 to 120 minutes. So again, if we were in a hybrid class, we would use this opportunity to have a little 5-minute discussion about what sustains your physical energy. So I hope you kind of pause for a moment and maybe think about your areas of physical energy. Is there anything out of whack, and what you need to do to get realigned? Emotional energy includes self-awareness, being aware of our own bodies and when we kind of feel out of line or stressed, having confidence and self-regulation, empathy for others as well as ourselves, and good social skills. This whole concept of emotional wake is very big in the literature, and it was very much addressed in this Power of Full Engagement. What do you feel when you interact with a particular person or situation, and what is the after effect? Is it an aftermath, like, oh gosh, I'm so glad to be away from this person, I feel so drained? Or is it an afterglow, like, oh my gosh, this person makes me feel so good whenever I'm around them, I just want to be around them more? So conversely, we think about the emotional wake that we leave. Do we invest time in building and maintaining effective relationships with others? And what's the wake that we leave? Do people walk away from us feeling like, oh my gosh, she was so draining, I can't wait to get away from them, I'm so glad I don't have to interact with them for a whole nother week? Or are people saying, after they leave interaction with us, oh my gosh, I feel so energized and so fulfilled and so good about life, I want to be around this person more and more. So these kinds of relationships really set the tone for a unit or department if we leave good emotional wakes or poor emotional wakes. So that feeds into a lot of next week's discussion about creating a healthy working environment and us taking responsibility for our piece in that creation. This is a very classic triangle that was theorized by Murray Bowen, who did a lot of family therapy, and he talks about the drama triangle. There's always seems to be a persecutor, a victim, and a rescuer in the drama triangle. So let's pick that apart a little bit. It's all your fault, you're no good. We all have encountered people in our professional life who have that kind of blame game philosophy, that it's never their fault, it's always somebody else's, and sometimes we're the recipient of that. The helper in the drama triangle would be the rescuer. Oh, I'll come help you, I'll make it okay. And the victim definitely walks around with a poor me, I'm not responsible kind of mindset. So the key to maintaining emotional energy is to avoid the drama triangle. Be aware when it starts and be willing to step outside the triangle. So again, I hope you pause and decide what sustains your emotional energy. Again, the whole idea of mental focus is physical engagement plus emotional engagement equals focus and alert. And we can all kind of look back at our own history of mental alertness and know that when we're physically engaged, we've eaten well, we've slept well, we're emotionally calm, that promotes focus and alertness. Again, our mental focus oscillates. Some days we're on, some days we're not. But the whole idea of striving for continuous improvement and creativity is a piece of that mental engagement. Practicing the power of listening to others and the power of being fully present also helps with mental focus. Many people find great comfort in focusing on the bigger purpose and enriching their spiritual focus and engagement. Some people are very religious, some people aren't, but spirituality is really about a broader concept of purpose in life and connections to deep values and aspirations. So you don't have to be religious necessarily to be spiritual. What is your driving force in life? What is something that really is a core value? So again, the whole idea of work-life balance is a dual approach of both time management and energy management. Some things that you may want to honestly self-reflect is to look at your alignment and your personal struggles. What 1 to 2 actions can I take this week to create greater energy? And these are some things that I hope that you take the time to focus on. Again, this whole theme of developing leadership within you certainly calls attention to developing a greater energy. How can I hardwire those actions in my life? Who can hold me accountable if I eat poorly, if I don't exercise, if I don't leave on time? What will the impact be if I do this or I don't do this? And how will I know that I'm successful? So I would encourage you to really engage in some self-reflection and look honestly at how you can improve your leadership opportunities in this area. I hope this has been a helpful lecture to you, and I look very forward to engaging with you on the discussion board. Good day.